England, Argentina, Goodey, you mentioned it, the Lavanini red card. Did that just ruin the game straight off the bat, or?
I'm going to say one thing on this.
Go on then, James.
It ruined the game. And now I'm not going to pass. I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not even going to tell you what I think. It's pissing me off.
What's pissing you off?
That you got a red card and the game was ruined.
It's a red card every day of the week.
Mate, and
I don't understand how.
That's all right. Whatever. It's a red card, but it still fucking ruined the game.
But so whose fault was it? Lavanini's. The only person to blame. It's not like these tackle laws have come in as a shock to everyone like a couple of days ago, and we're still reacting. This has been talked about for months.
Well, it was different 2 weeks ago.
You talk about, mate, that it wasn't different 2 weeks ago.
Well, it was, wasn't it?
Because if Lavanini did that 2 weeks ago, he's still getting a red card.
Okay, hang on. What are you saying? It was different 2 weeks ago.
I don't want to get into it. I'm pissed off.
Well, I think it's important we do talk about it because everyone's talking about it.
So, yeah, I mean, it is a red card in today's climate. Lavanini's not meant to hit him in the head. That's my point. Like, Argentina were a bit stupid in the way that they fronted up to the game. They were physical. You could see they were fired up. The captain was raging, gave away a couple of penalties. Lavanini, we know he's got a discipline issue. Like, I get that. But I don't know. It's just, for me, it just completely ruined the game. Well, so he went off and I turned the game off. So
this is the thing. I think England were going to win it come what may. I don't think Argentina had the quality to beat England. But you're talking about this now in terms of the tackle. And you look at someone like Courtney Laws, who is as tall as anyone else playing the game. He doesn't go in high.
Because that's his tackle technique, and I completely get that. And this is the last thing that I'll say. You're right.
You said you were going to say one thing, now you're saying another. Make your fucking mind
Will
up.
Skelton doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
But
you have to learn to do that.
Yeah, you have to learn to do that. How do you learn to do that?
Fucking bend over and tackle.
It doesn't work like that. Well,
it has to.
Clearly it does, yeah.
Otherwise, everyone's going to get red cards.
Game's ruined.
The game's not ruined. What has to happen?
That game was ruined.
But my take on it, so you look at Lavanini, and he's seen Farrell, and he's flown out the line at him.
And Farrell stepped back in. That's it. I'm not saying anything else.
But so when you're talking about it, you're talking about someone who's flying out the line without the full control of his body to try and make a big hit. So coaches and players now have to understand all this line speed that keeps coming. You can't just react in the last millisecond to a tackle and then have the risk of getting hit high. You have to get off the line first couple of steps, but you have to be able to steady your feet before you make a tackle. And players aren't steadying their feet before they make a tackle. They're going to get hit up high. They're going to make high shots that are going to get red cards. So if you watch Lavanini, not once does he break stride. He just flies and then he gets half-stepped and then, waboom, he fucking throws his shoulder in his head and he's gone. As a player, you've got to learn that you can get off the line, but you've got to steady your feet and then lower your sights.
Did the red card ruin the game?
Yes.
The red card didn't ruin the game. The red card is a fact of where we are in rugby now. So Lavanini ruined the game by doing that for his attack for his Lavanini ruined the game by doing that for his Argentinian teammates. He didn't ruin the game because
we did because it weren't a competition, and this is what I think Benny Kay spoke. This is what Benny Kay was speaking about and a couple of others, and I fully agree. I think now we're in this area where player welfare is at the forefront. I 100% agree, even though there's a 4-day turnaround between Russia and Scotland. I'm not making excuses at the weekend for Scotland playing Japan 4 days after.
You saying they're going to lose already?
I don't know. Player welfare is at the forefront. I'm all for it, okay, 100%. My kids hopefully will play rugby. They might do, they might not, and I want the full protection of them and the heads and everything. My issue is the inconsistencies. We saw Matu's blatant red card wasn't red carded. Goodey trolled at the weekend the England team by putting up Goodey trolled the Argentinians. Sorry, the England team would have. Goodey trolled the England team by showing Piers Francis's tackle.
I didn't troll the England team. What I said was this picture's going around Twitter, and when you have a still shot, it looks very similar.
We don't like still those screenshots.
Yeah, no, but you
don't tell the full story.
They don't tell the full story. But at the time, and Drew Mitchell called us up both on it on Twitter about Piers Francis' tackle. So what do you reckon to that one? At the time, in the framework, I said to myself, I thought that was a red card, without being able to slow it down and looking at the point of contact. And apparently the point of contact for Piers Francis' one was at the top of his chest, and then it rode up to his head.
But Jim, what are you going to say about Ben Kay and what he suggested?
Yeah, so I think the way that the game is at the minute, because there's the potential, maybe not, because I think the Lavanini one at the weekend has, in a very high-profile game, I think now people are going to be, or players are going to be, and coaches, a lot more careful. But I genuinely looked at that, and I don't think that he is meant to hit Farrell in the head. I think that he's clumsy. I think that the laws of the game now have made it reckless. The mitigating circumstances, there weren't many apart from that Owen stepped in and was maybe a few inches shorter. If that was Mostart, the second row for South Africa, he's hit him in the chest. So for me, I would love to see what Benny Kay mentioned, a different coloured card where Lavanini goes off, doesn't come back on, and then 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, Argentina can then bring on another one. Unless it's one where you've meant to do it and it's intent. So you've punched someone, you've stamped on someone. Something like that, which is, there's no grey area. For me, the Lavanini one, there's a small. I don't think that he's gone because he's not. He's not going to want to get sent off, is he?
No, he's not going to want to get sent off. But what he's trying to do is put a huge shot on one of England's most influential players without being in control of it. He was never in control of that at all. From getting off the line to flying up to trying to smack him.
See, but I think
so you run the risk. So I understand what you're saying in terms of some tackles. Let's go back to Munster against Gloucester last season. Cipriani gets red carded.
Yeah.
That ain't Cipriani trying to take someone's head off, but he gets sent off. That's the sort of thing where you're thinking, Cipriani's he's upright. Someone's stilled a George Ford tackle the other day. He's upright in the tackle, and it looks like there's a shoulder touching someone's head. As you can say, and as we've said, the stills don't do things justice. If you're saying the Cipriani one against Munster last year ruined the game, well, perhaps it did because Sips hasn't thrown his shoulder as hard as he can into someone. Lavanini has given that full force. And by doing that, you run the risk of getting a red card. And I understand the point, and I completely agree that you could do something like that. There's no point in talking about it until after the tournament with Ben Kay's example. Yes, it's a great example of what we could do, but we can't do it now.
I think you look at Nigel Owen's reaction in the game as well. Like, he not one point says, mate, that's a joke, that's reckless, which he does. Nigel Owens normally says, look, mate, that's ridiculous. Or
he said play on.
He actually said he said no foul play.
So he said no foul play, and then you could see he had empathy towards him. So, and they're in it. I turned the game off there after.
But it is,
I didn't watch it.
For right now, like Ross Tucker, was it, who was on? He's talking about getting rid of grey areas.
Yeah.
And like, instant what you said, Goodey, about technique, and that's something like in Ireland they're very, very big on, like getting off the line and then loading and then sort of entering the tackle again. They call it go, load, go. So taking the first 5 or 10 metres, then controlling your feet and then entering the tackle correctly. Because the reason I agree that there should be a different coloured card, because that is a red card. You can't tackle someone in the head like that, full stop. But it did ruin the game. I think England probably would have won that game 90% of the time, maybe 80% of the time. So probably
maybe 100.
Well, 100 as soon as the red card happens. And
99 before.
Can Argentina and Lavanini be punished without it completely and utterly ruining the game? That's what I think you'd like to see. I get that,
but what the debate we're having now is that's for conversations to have after the World Cup.
Yeah, you can't change it now.
If you're a head coach now, if I'm Eddie Jones, I'm talking to my players daily about this. I'm picking out Manu, the way he tackles, and I'm picking out Carl Sinclair for his one when he's flown headfirst into the Argentinian early on in the game. I thought it was a yellow card. As a coach, it's your responsibility to keep the players this side of the correct side of the line in terms of the aggression levels. Lavanini's he's reckless there. So, with Manu, you've got to be saying to Manu, we want you to go and make your hits. We want you to go and bury people, but just have in your mind that if you go that 1 inch too high, you're getting sent off. So it's a responsibility of players and coaches. I completely agree with the other card situation that we're all talking about, but that's not for the here and now. That's for post-World Cup, because they ain't going to change it during the World Cup, are they?
I'm just saying that it completely ruined it for me. I turned it off after, and there was I obviously went back and watched some of the highlights and then read some of the stuff after, and everyone was talking about Sam Underhill, about how well he played and his tackle technique, which is phenomenal, but he also picks up a lot of head concussions by tackling the way that he does, that low and that hard. But it's, as we know, we've all played the game. Everyone has a different technique or an optimal technique. I'm not going to bore you or nausea you with it, but I had this
hit with your tits.
Hit with your tits, mate. But when I used to maul, for example, and some people call me the greatest mauler of the modern generation. But I had this debate with some of my coaches. So when I lifted in a line out, and they're telling me to bend down low so I can get in almost like a scrummaging position to maul, I was like, no. I was like, I'm like a king prawn in that position. Like, I am not at all effective or powerful.
King prawns are nice though.
They are lovely. Yeah, they are lovely, especially in batter. Yeah. Goodey. But I was so much more efficient upright because I'm 6'8".
Right.
Look at Big Willie, Little Willie Skelton. He ain't efficient low. He is efficient big, but he needs to be careful.
How are you efficient standing up at all?
Just naturally.
He's a monster. Hit with his tits.
Naturally. Retallick can operate low, can tackle low, clean out breakdowns low. Some people are a lot higher. Michael Rhodes, he's high in how he operates. Trying to think. Sam Whitelock's quite high as well in terms of second rows. Mostart, okay, carries.
He hits into rucks about an inch off the floor illegally half the time.
But look at the way that he tackles. Etzebeth's quite high. Look at the way that Etzebeth carries, the way that he mauls, the way that he tackles, ragdolls people. I think genetically is the wrong word. I just think naturally.
You saying Etzebeth's hard as Fook?
No.
Oh, okay. It sounded that way.
Anyway, I just thought I literally watched that red card and was like, game over. Turn the game off. Not wasting my time watching it.